sure, Mina? Did you know the classic PC Engine strategy game Nectar or the TurboGrafx-16's Military Man has had a sequel? No, not the PC Engine Japan-only Neo Nectar, the one on the Super Nintendo, or more accurately, the Super Famicom. Yep, Hudson made one, 1992's Japan-only Earthlight, a sequel hidden in plain sight. Of sorts, anyway. The setting and style is different. Gone is the morose grit of the recognisably military-style units, to an anime dramatic style, as the box proudly proclaims, in its brighter, arguably cutesier follow-up. Even better is it's still an affordable game to pick up complete in box. The game takes place in the near future of the 22nd century. Humanity has expanded beyond the realms of the Earth, and now the Union inhabits parts of space. Colonies have been built in Earth's orbit by factories using asteroids. Suddenly, oh no! One of those factories, Gault, declares independence from the Union to form the Gault Empire, and Governor Ariman Avesta declares himself emperor. Naturally, the Union vows to take on the self-declared Gault Empire. If this sounds similar to Gundam, I'm sure it's no coincidence. Instead of a boring review that just recounts all of the play mechanics like the user manual, I thought I would show you how I would go about completing a mission. This way you get to see the gameplay, and it may even pique your interest, so much so that you may want to try this game out. Fundamentally, each unit has different properties, attack strengths, ranges and types, and different defense properties. Understanding this is crucial to success. In-game, a stat screen will explain this, but the manual is very handy to have. Within that, some units have very strong attacks, but poor defense. You'll need to balance all of this for your success in each mission. Even if you have only one unit left, when you complete the mission's objective, you will start the next mission with a full roster of units, but might get a poor ranking, which is more of a high score challenge than anything else. So on to showing how this game plays. Mission 10's objective is to destroy the enemy fortress, or, as with all missions in Earthlight, to destroy all of the enemy units, whichever comes first. In this playthrough, I'm going to wipe them out with minimal losses. The enemy Gault force will win if they take down just your battleship. That's the big one here. Ordinary mobile units work like in Nectaris. They are composed of 8 fighters each, and once all 8 are destroyed within the unit, it's lost for good. If, however, you can get them to a floating dock, comparable to Nectaris' factories, they will be restored to being a full unit of 8 again. Battleships, however, have health points, a little twist on Nectaris, as air units in that game worked like the ordinary units explained above. Our large battleship here can't be put into a floating dock for HP restoration, so we need to protect it from units that have Taikan, or counter battleship attack abilities, as this mission has a strong Taikan unit, known as the Dragon Cannon, that could knock you out easily if you're in range. First, I take my lobster unit towards the neutral floating dock, as I can do it in one move, and attack. This will knock out some of its HP. Again, these work differently to Nectaris, where simply entering a factory occupied it for your use. Here, you have to reduce the HP of a floating dock to 0 to occupy it. I move the mobile units and battleship towards the as yet unoccupied floating dock, and the smaller battleships, rocket batteries and machine guns to the southern flank. At first, the enemy is going to use the Brontes to try and attack you, as it has a very strong missile attack, but it is very weak defensively. So by ensuring I occupy the neutral floating dock and get the Bidol cannon out first is very important. This can only attack mobile units, but it has a good attack range, Shadde in Japanese, and its attack power is absolutely devastating. Once placed down, it can't move, but I'm happy for it to stay here. Likewise, I release the mobile units from my occupied floating dock, but I am careful to place them such to draw the enemy towards them, but not too close for the enemy gunner, which can shoot with a range of 2 to 4 hexes, and the enemy Bidol cannon can likewise attack from a great range, so we need to move in carefully here. It also means there is less chance of the enemy wiping them out, as if you attack first, you will sustain damage during your turn and then the enemy's turn. When the enemy's Brontes unit makes it towards us, I blast it to oblivion with the Bidol cannon. Next, I have successfully drawn the other enemy units in and around the floating dock. I do this because I can place my damage units easily into this to restore them as I battle the enemy's units, whilst remaining out of range of the enemy's Bidol and gunner units. To the south, the enemy will release units from its floating dock and move most of them to surround the fortress, but it will send one battleship towards the southern flank. Because it can only attack with a range of 2 to 3 hexes, if you move in right against it, it can't attack you. Also, with a mixture of your battleships and batteries, which can attack at a greater range, you'll bring it down with ease, allowing you to move towards the enemy floating dock in the south. This will be critical to restoring your units, as I will work towards drawing them away from the enemy fortress. In the north, having removed the immediate mobile force threat, I move my battleship in carefully towards the enemy Bido cannon. This can only attack mobile units, so the battleship is safe from attack, and I can use this to wipe out the cannon, but I have to ensure I'm not in range of the enemy dragon cannon, which can attack my battleship. With the Bido cannon destroyed, I can move in on the enemy gunner unit and bring it down with a lobster unit and a ground unit. I'm now free to move in on the northern flank, and in the south, using my crab transporter unit, I move my own dragon cannon into the southern flank to help as defense and drop it down. Once it's set down, like the Bido cannon, it can't be moved. Likewise, I can move my units towards the enemy floating dock and occupy it, but being very careful not to put my battleships in range of the dragon cannon. That will cause some massive damage if I do. The other mobile units can't be touched by the dragon cannon, so I can place these a little in advance of the battleships. This will draw in the enemy's large Asura 2 unit, which we can easily take down. I then use the Lobster Air unit to move in towards the enemy dragon cannon to wipe it out. With the Lobster unit's experience rising from its previous battles, they will take this on easily. This makes my battleships in the south safe from its attacks. At this point, some enemy units will be drawn in from the fortress they are defending, which we can also take down. By this point, we have essentially won, as our units in the south can all be restored by getting them into the floating dock, and will act as a bulwark against the southern flank whilst the northern units move in. Pretty much all the enemy will do now is fiddle whilst Rome burns, shuffling its formation around the fortress. All you have to do is carefully move in and pick off the remaining units to win. In the end, I only lost a couple of fighters and no complete units. I hope that this gives you some idea how this game plays out. It's wonderful fun. Moving on to more familiar review territory, there's a few other things to mention that distinguishes Earthlight from Nectaris. First is that there are a couple of units that can transform, which can enhance certain stats over others to your advantage. I just wish there was a bit more of this with some of the units. It could have been so cool, and it's certainly another nod to the Gundam influence. In addition, some units can detach a projectile, which is quite neat, but it will need defending once detached. Visually, this is a pleasing game, more colourful than Nectaris, and the unit designs in the ability screen are great. On the field, units are represented by single colours to allow you to distinguish friendly and enemy units. However, it can be sometimes a little hard to distinguish the types of units. One thing in Nectaris' favour is that the environment made it much easier to discern what a unit could cross or move through, whereas Earthlight's space setting abstracts this a little bit, so I was a little bit more dependent on a manual to look up how, for example, magnetic fields affected a unit's movement ability, as some units cannot move into this type of area at all. Orally, it's pretty darn good, maybe a bit more varied than Nectaris, and it's a matter of taste, but I enjoyed both equally. Overall, it's a well-polished game that makes some good tweaks to the original formula and delivers a very enjoyable experience. The downside is the story, which like Nectaris is there, but it's no Langris the style epic yarn. So there's little attachment to the story or its characters. It's Union versus renegade self-declared empire, and that's it. I guess there's only so much they could pack into the smallish ROM size, but I would have enjoyed some more exposition beyond the mission's introductions, which suggest viable strategies. That would have lived up to the anime dramatic promise, but alas. Like Nectaris, this is an accessible and addictive strategy game on a potentially more popular platform, the Super Famicom. It's a shame this was never localised outside of Japan officially, as I think it would have probably done quite well, but it exists, and there is now an English translation patch. I'll get to the Japanese language rating in a moment though. I rate this as a great game, and I think if it had a 2-player mode, this may have just squeaked an all-time great from me, but I am sympathetic to this genre, I guess. But as it stands, this is a human versus computer game, and what's here is excellent gameplay. and that I can highly recommend across its 30 missions, which when completed loops to a harder gameplay setting. As an extra bonus to Nectaris, there is an in-game save which allows you to save progress during a mission, which is much more flexible than Nectaris' password system. Japanese-wise, this one has a high bar to clear and is very much at least conversational level, with an extensive use of kanji throughout the game, and the manual is dense on that front too, much more so than Nectaris was, but at least the manual has furigana. I would say it's playable with no English patch, but you will need a cheat sheet to point out the relevant details, especially in the abilities screen. I have made just a theme for you on my Patreon, available via link in the video description below. In summary, this is a locked-in Japan classic that I urge you to try if you're a fan of strategy games like this, or if this review has piqued your interest, and it's certainly not one to make light of. As always, like, subscribe and all of that shit, and also check out this rad Rubbish Heap merch, available worldwide on Redbubble and Amazon. See the links below for how to purchase. I've been Saki Endo, and this has been a Rubbish Heap. じゃあねー。
ハローエブリバディ。私は一体誰でしょう。パンケービートシミュレーションアースライトで会おうぜ。